Hello, welcome into another Civ 6 Civilization review video here on the Madish Moose YouTube channel. A little different this time for you. I'm going to take it back to an old save, a multiplayer game that I played on stream at twitch.tv/madishmoose with my lovely wife out of the Nox. Now, the first thing you'll notice about this video that's different from some of my other ones is A, it's a multiplayer one, B, it is a very old save, and C, it's not a finished game. We actually, we did finish this game, but I didn't actually have a save from the finish, and so we're actually kind of right at the end of the game, but not quite there. And we're playing the Gaul. And it went interestingly because I played it for a culture victory. I want to take you through why I think the Gaul are one of the more fun civilizations to play, especially for players who may have been playing Civ for quite some time, and maybe even try to play them a little differently to give yourself a different look and feel as you're playing the game. If you've played a lot of Civ, you're probably looking for new ways to experience the game. I think playing the Gaul in the way that I was able to in this game could give you a fun, different take on civilization. Let's jump into the game and I'll show you what I am talking about. So, the Gaul almost always are played as a domination civ, right? You have Ambiorix, the Gaelic Empire. You've got King of the Eburones. Your civilization gains culture equal to 20% of your unit's cost when non-civilian units are trained. Melee, anti-cav, range units receive +2 combat strength for every adjacent unit. In itself, what that tells you is you kind of got two options, potentially. You've got a culture gain, but you've also got a really nice combat gain, especially when you group your units together. Instinctively, people's play with Gaul, with Ambiorix, is go domination. It's a super fun way to play, don't get me wrong, and we'll go through exactly how you would execute on that. However, I found it a lot of fun to play them as a culture-based victory type civilization. So I'll walk through kind of how we did that and why I think they're such a good civ for players who maybe are just looking for something a little different. Honestly, the primary reason that I think that it's fun to play as the Gaul, and this is regardless of what victory type you're going for, is the Hallstatt culture. So I'll read you the Hallstatt culture and I'll talk you through again why I think that it's fun and creates a different feel for the game. Mines provide minor adjacency bonuses for all districts. Excellent. Mines providing extra adjacency sounds wonderful. They also do a culture bomb of unknown territory. Could be useful. And you receive +1 culture. So mines get +1 culture. You put a mine in, you get culture. That's pretty nice. We already talked about how in the first, in King of the Eburones, you also get culture. 20% of the unit cost in culture every time you produce a unit. So now we're talking culture on culture, which starts to get you thinking like maybe this is viable as a culture-based civilization. Now, here's where it gets interesting in Hallstatt culture. Specialty districts do not receive minor adjacency bonuses for being adjacent to another district. And here's the big one, those districts cannot be built adjacent to the city center. Most Civ 6 players build districts adjacent to their city center because it counts as a district and you get automatically that adjacency bonus. With the Gaul, you do not get that adjacency bonus, and in fact, you cannot build specialty districts adjacent to your city center. So you'll notice here is our capital. There is no districts of the specialty variety adjacent to our city center. We could not, in fact, do that because it is not allowed. Where I find this to be the most kind of frustrating is on coastal cities, right? Almost always, because of the bonuses, you want to put your harbor next to your city center because it gets you a lot of great, I think it's food and production bonuses that ends up getting you once you have the buildings built in. You always want to try to do that almost all the time, but you can't with the Gaul. And so now you're having to plan your cities a little bit differently, including all of your cities in mainland. So my general line of thinking with the Gaul after playing this game was inland settles are better than coastal settles because you're not going to be able to maximize coastal settles with the Gaelic Empire because you can't get that harbor adjacent to your city center. So you're not going to be able to maximize those gains. But it creates a completely different mindset when creating your cities. when you start playing the Gaul and you realize you can't put districts adjacent to your city center, you have to take a fully new mindset as to where you're going to place your districts. Cap that with the fact that your adjacency bonuses for specialty districts being next to each other is no longer there. So putting a campus in and then surrounding it with some other districts to boost up your adjacency bonus is not a thing with the Gaul. However, if you put a campus in and surround it with mines, you're going to get the same effect. So it really makes city planning with the Gaul super fun. And as I'm talking about it, I'm actually like, man, I really need to play as the Gaul again because it was so fun to do it differently, to plan my cities differently. Every civ gives you a slightly different look and feel as to how you might want to plan your cities, but a lot of them are very similar. The Gaul changed that completely. So if you're looking for a civ to play that will give you a different feel and look, the Gaul is such a great choice because they force you to play differently. Now, let's continue reading through some Gaul stuff. The Gay Satay are their unique unit, the Gallic unique ancient era unit that replaces the warrior. This unit has increased cost and receives plus 10 combat strength when fighting units with a higher base combat strength, plus 5 combat strength versus district defenses. So, plus 5 combat strength versus district defenses early in the game. If someone puts in an early encampment or some early walls, the Gaysate they're so good at taking cities early. Plus, if a higher base combat strength is fighting them, then you're actually, like, you can play into that so nicely with the Gaysate. The final trait of Ambiorix in the Gaelic Empire is the Oppidum. The Oppidum is a unique district to Gaul that is cheaper and available earlier than the district it replaces, the industrial zone. So they have their own unique industrial zone, similar to Germany. The Oppidum district is defensible with a ranged attack. So their Oppidum functions as an encampment for defensive purposes. You can shoot people with it. It's very nice because it means you don't have to put up any encampments. You could actually just put these up for defensive purposes. When the first Oppidum is constructed, the apprenticeship technology is unlocked. We'll talk about that in a moment. And then plus 2 production adjacency bonus from quarries and strategic resources. So if you have some stone, you got building some quarries, and you have strategic resources, plonk your Oppidum down in between those, and you're going to get some big production value out of your Oppidums. Plus, you get that defensive shot. Plus, you can build it really early. And when you first build your Oppidum, you unlock apprenticeship. So this is why Gaul is played primarily as a civilization for domination victories. So if we look at where the Oppidum is here, the Oppidum is in ironworking, which is much earlier than the industrial zone is typically unlocked. When you research Oppidum and then build your first Oppidum, you get access to apprenticeship way up there. You go from here all the way over to here. You cross into the medieval era, and the big thing is you get access to your workshop, so you can build workshops right away. You get plus 1 production to mines, which if you're playing Gaul correctly, you're putting mines everywhere. And the reason that most people play Gaul as a domination civ is you get access to the man-at-arms very early on. And if you have built a bunch of Gaysate, you could just upgrade them into man-at-arms, and then you're off and running. You have to go through swordsman, I believe, first, right? But you're bumping everyone up very quickly. It's just such a great way to play the game early on. It's called the man-at-arms rush. I did not do that in this particular game. However, it's definitely a great way to play the Gaul early game. Get your man-at-arms out as quickly as possible, get a whole bunch of them, and you will be so far ahead from a combat strength perspective, from a tech perspective, against the rest of the people you're playing, and you'll just be able to run over them with men-at-arms for early war. Definitely a viable way to play. Now, if you're playing the Gaul like I played them, you're building your Oppidums, you're getting your mines around it, you've got your strategic right adjacent to this one. This one is a plus 8 production building, so we've got some good bonuses going on with that one. You're looking at different areas with which to build things, and put in as many mines as you can. You'll notice that as much as I could mine, we've got mines on hills. We're trying to take advantage of that. Obviously, this is not a finished game, so I'm looking at it going, oh man, and it's an old save. I'm like, I learned a lot, and I probably could play the Gaul much better next time I tried to play them. But we're doing some cool things here. So what I ended up doing to get the victory in this game from a culture perspective is obviously you're building mines early to look for the big gains there. Again, even basic mine tiles, right? 1 food, 5 production, 1 culture. You're getting some great yields out of those. And so you want to build, obviously, oppidums in a lot of your cities. And then, if you're looking for that extra culture bonus to really get you ahead, and you can see, I actually have 460 culture here. We're playing on quick speed, or I think on online speed, actually, here. But like, I'm clearly very much ahead of a lot of my competitors here. But you really get at that early culture is very easy with Gaul because you're putting mines in anyway. And then all you want to do is swing that into production. If you produce units and run an early war, which we did, we ran an early war against Saladin here and took some of his cities. As we were producing those units, we were also getting 20% of the value of those put back into our culture. And so we were able to go through the culture tree very quickly, which gets us access to wonders faster, which gets us access to different tourism bonuses faster, like flight and different things of that nature. And then what we were able to do is then put stuff into great works. And then to get the win, we actually started putting in, right, some national parks and some key locations. And then you got ski resorts on the mountains. So we were able to, again, you can't see it here because this is an earlier save, but you're able to put ski resorts on a lot of your mountains, which we had access to. And so then we were able to do that as well and pick up the tourism necessary to get the victory. So if you're looking to play Gaul a little different, it's fun to try to min-max their generation of culture a little bit. Place your mines in the right spot. Do some fun things with your oppidums. You could still go for the man-at-arms rush. Like, you could still do that and pull that off as well. It lets you play the game differently, which I think is very exciting. You have to plan your cities in a drastically different way than you plan all of the rest of your civs cities. And so it just gives you a different look and feel, which I think is fun. And then I always like playing civs a little different from their primary strong suit. You've probably noticed that. Norway as a religious civ was super fantastic rather than domination. I also trend away from domination victories, although if you check out the Hungary video, we definitely played a solid domination game with Hungary. However, playing the Gaul as a culture victory was definitely a lot of fun just because it gave it a different look. We even got to do some fun things like, oh look, the Galapagos Islands, and we went out and settled it because there was room to be able to do that, right? Anyway, this game was a ton of fun. It was great to play a little differently as Gaul. If you found the content helpful and you enjoy maybe playing some Gaul using these strategies, please feel free to thumbs up the video. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please feel free to do so. I try to post videos every Sunday afternoon and focusing on humankind and Civ 6 content. A couple other things coming up in the next few weeks, but we'll get back to the 4X type content over the weeks here as we go. Thank you so much for watching the video, and I'll see you next week.